Here, first things first, now joined by former NFL head coach Eric Mangini. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How's
Good
everybody
to
doing?
have you this morning.
Good morning.
All right, we're talking Philadelphia Eagles. To say the Eagles have underwhelmed this season would be an understatement. Their 5-7 record hit its low point with a loss to the Dolphins on Sunday. Doug Pederson has taken the blame, saying, "I'm disgusted, I'm mad, I'm angry, and I'm probably more so mad at myself." Eagles could have tied the Cowboys atop the division with a win against Miami. Instead, they are back to the drawing board with just 4 games left to play. Brian, you're a resident Eagle guy on set here. Who is to blame? Is it Pederson or is it quarterback Carson Wentz?
You know, while Carson Wentz has not played great, Coach, 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in the last 3 games, I placed this last loss to Miami at the feet of Doug Pederson. Here's the thing. You're going down to Miami to play a 2-9 football team, and you don't have your team prepared. You don't have your team amped and ready to go down there and win a football game. And this is why you should. You have 5 games left, and if you win those 5 games, you can make it into the playoffs. That's the thing that all coaches, that all players, that's your goal at the beginning of the season, to make it into the playoffs. And these guys weren't prepared. They were not ready. 10 penalties in the football game. That's coaching. That's discipline. I put that squarely at the feet of Doug Pederson. Here's a couple things that I want to point out, and this is important. Carson Wentz in his passing attempts, last 3 games against New England, 40 passing attempts. Seattle, 45. Miami, 46 passing attempts. In these games, he was never down by more than 7 points. Run the doggone football. 18 carries, 19 carries. You have an opportunity as a play caller, Doug Pederson, to run the football. Your most explosive player on offense is your running back, Miles Sanders. He's been your most consistent and your most explosive player on offense. Why are you not running the football, especially when your quarterback is basically 2-13 when he passes over 40 times a football game? That's not how you win, especially with the receivers that you have. Doug Pederson continues to knock his head against the wall, trying to give the ball to Carson Wentz and win football games that way. That's not the way the Eagles will win football games.
And when you hear him talking in the press conference, he said he's mad, he's disappointed, he's all these different things. What is he mad at? I would like a little bit of clarity. What is he disappointed in? Does he feel like he didn't put a good enough game plan in place? Does he feel like he didn't have enough discipline during the course of the week? Does he feel like he's had some shortcomings as a program in terms of discipline? The difficult thing is when you have success like they had success and you win a Super Bowl and it's with a philosophy of maybe a lighter environment, we're all going to have fun. We've talked about that a ton, and then you double down the next year. It's hard now to change directions and tell everybody in that locker room we have to take a different approach. We have to be harder. We have to be not who we have been. Because the guys look at you and say, well, if that was good enough before, why isn't it good enough now?
Like, I don't know in your household who the disciplinarian is. Maybe it's both parents. My guess is it's you. So I'm not in mine. And my wife's the much more strict parent. I'm the more, listen, kids, it is what it is. And
Party dad.
Right. And occasionally, if I get angry or I get upset and I try to be strict, my youngest daughter will laugh.
Yes, she laughs at you.
She will laugh.
Yep.
Because she's like, what are you talking about? And there is, and I understand that's not a perfect analogy, but it seems to be what you're talking about. Like, you establish with young people or with a young football team who you're going to be, and that is who they believe you to be moving forward. The only issue I'll take with what you said, Brian, is I did think Philly was ready to play. They were up 10-0. They were then up 14 points in the second half. And to allow Ryan Fitzpatrick and those Miami Dolphins, and credit to Brian Flores, who has his team still fighting. The organization might want to tank. He ain't part of it, and the players don't seem to be. The players that are left don't seem to be a part of it. To allow them to score 23 straight points, that's why I can't put it on Wentz. Wentz has been bad this year, but given his standards, and honestly, he's been league standards a below-average quarterback this season. He needs to be better. Yep. To whom much given, much is expected. He's got the big contract extensions, never played in a playoff game. He needs to be better. But the Miami game individually, 30 against Miami should be enough. That should be enough points to win that football game. Up 14 against Miami in what I would consider close to a must-win game. They saw, like the whole world saw, their division rival fall flat on their face on Thanksgiving. They knew what was in front of them. And to have the game won and then to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory the way they did defensively in that second half, to me is almost unforgivable, and that is that we can't put on the right arm of Carson Wentz.
The Miami Dolphins scored on 6 straight possessions. 5 of those possessions were touchdowns. At some point, your coach, and I know Doug is not a defensive coach, but at some point, your coach has to make an adjustment. And, Coach, you have to understand this, that Devontae Parker is the one guy that's killing you. Maybe we should just double-team him. Maybe if you have a situation where your special teams is out there and it's a formation that you may not recognize, even if you do, maybe it's a special formation, maybe you should just call a timeout. These are small things that Doug Pederson could have done in this football game that he didn't do, and he has to just do a better job of coaching. And when you talk about Carson Wentz, Nick, the turnovers have been his issue.
Yes.
Last game, 4 turnovers. He has to be a much more accurate passer. If he can do that with his fundamentals and his mechanics, then he'll play much better. They have to get some guys around him. All the good teams that have great receivers around them that are playing the best on offense, they have speed. The Eagles have no speed at all.
Just explain this to me. If you're a head coach, how do you pivot from where your message point was? If you were one team and it's not working, how do you get in touch with the guys? They're not firing Doug Pederson. This is going to be the same group of guys for the next 4 games. How do you suddenly say, we blew it? Because he did say after that Dolphins game, we just didn't try hard enough. He literally said, we didn't try hard enough, and they did. Tell me how you pivot on message points to a group of guys.
That's my point. Is it's really hard to pivot because you've spent a lot of time saying, this is what I believe in. This is how we're going to operate. The Patriots do things their way. That's okay, but we're going to show the world that we can do things a different way. And then you have some success, and then you double down and you sneak into the playoffs the next year.
And win a playoff game.
And win a playoff game. And now you're at the point where you do have to change because it's constantly evolving. But everybody in that locker room is saying, this is what you told us worked. We saw that it worked. This is the guy you said you are, and now you want to be somebody different? I don't know how he's going to be able to pivot, especially in this short amount of time, to try to do something effective.
And organizationally, this went under the radar. But this week, in the midst of all of this, they made Lane Johnson the highest paid right tackle ever. And Lane Johnson's been one of the most vocal. I'd rather have fun. You know, it was a tongue-in-cheek quote that now gets thrown in his face a lot. But I'd rather have fun and win one Super Bowl than be miserable and win a bunch. And now